Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's WiCyS webinar. My name is Morgan Garland. I am the board liaison with WiCyS. And with me today, I have Akshita from Adobe, who's going to be leading our webinar. Before we get started, though, I want to go ahead and give you all an overview of the WiCyS organization for those of you who are not familiar with us. WiCyS is a 501c3 nonprofit with a mission to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. We have over 11,000 members in 107 countries with over 68 affiliates and 320 student chapters around the world. We have a variety of different initiatives and skills development training programs for all career levels. We have our speakers bureau. We have our annual conference, which is coming up March 11th to the 13th in the Washington, D.C. area. Our job board is open 24/7 for strategic partners to post jobs and our members to apply. We have our monthly newsletter and our mentorship program and so much more. Here's a list of a few different programs that we have going on right now. We do have applications open for our GRC training program, our SAN Cyber Range, and our Executive Leaders Network, which happens on a monthly cadence for seniors and executives in cybersecurity. All these programs are up on our website. If you would like to apply or learn more, you can go to WiCyS.org. And we owe all of our wonderful initiatives and programs to our strategic partners, our Tier 1 partners being Akamai, Amazon, Bloomberg, Cisco, Ford, Google, Lockheed Martin, Palo Alto Networks, SANS Institute, and SentinelOne. And please ask questions today. We do have time reserved at the end for Q&A. You have a chat box on your screen you should see. You can drop in your questions at any time. You can ask them throughout the session, but we will start answering those once we get to the end of the session today. And just a reminder to subscribe to the WiCyS newsletter if you have not done so already. You can stay up to date on all of our upcoming events, our training programs, and so much more. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Akshita to kick us off today.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, WiCyS, for hosting this session. I'm very excited to talk to you all today. I'm Akshita. I work as GRC Product Manager at Adobe. At Adobe, we have built our in-house security GRC platform, and I work at the intersection of security, compliance, engineering, and product. I focus on building platforms that help scale governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC, through automation. Before we jump in to the talk, I want to acknowledge that you all might be part of cybersecurity backgrounds, whether app security, engineering, or just getting started in your careers. GRC can sometimes feel very distant from that work or something that shows up only during end of quarter or just during the audit cycle. So this talk will cover how GRC is influencing the systems you build and how GRC is itself transitioning into engineered, scalable, and a technical discipline. So here's how we're going to spend time today. First, I'm going to share a bit about myself, how I landed into the GRC world. And then we look into what is GRC, its role in cybersecurity, bottlenecks, and how we can automate that. And we'll end with Q&A. So a little about me. I've been at Adobe for last 5 years. I joined Adobe as a software developer, and then I transitioned into product manager of our GRC product. Before that, I actually started my career at Dell EMC in pre-sales, and then I did my master's in information systems management from Carnegie Mellon. My hobbies are hiking, embroidery, yoga. I do have a lot of these hobbies help me to decompress. I call them slow hobbies. It helps me to take a step back and slow down. So my career path wasn't linear. I did not switch my career once. I switched my career multiple times. Like I said, I started my career in pre-sales. And right after that, I joined Carnegie Mellon to do my master's. When I was in pre-sales at Dell EMC, I spent my time in explaining storage solutions, talking about scale, availability, reliance, and I used to hear so many questions around compliance. So in order to do that job well, I had to understand things like encryption at rest, retention policies. At that time, I was curious and I really wanted to understand why customers care about this so deeply, why there are so many questions. So it was just curiosity, and I didn't know that curiosity would shape my career in such way. My next chapter was CMU. I think it was most pivotal part of my career, where I studied software development, engineering, and that environment really taught me on how to break down a complex problem and how to build things at scale. After that, I joined CMU. After CMU, I joined Adobe as a software developer. I naturally, like, I found myself bridging the gap between security compliance and engineering. Somehow, I became the person who would reach out to people to understand pain points of, like, if they are, related to the compliance world, how they are providing evidences manually. And then soon people also started reaching out to me to discuss, to brainstorm ideas when something wasn't working or they just had a new opportunity or like new idea to just talk about. Very soon I realized that the future of GRC is needed to be engineered. We need to have automation in place. We need to think of it as a product also. And that's how I moved into product management. Though I got here through curiosity, just asking questions, learning systems, and just trying to automate things, but it was definitely like, of course, it was like not easy. When you switch career, when you transition even to a different role in the similar space, it's not possible to be the subject matter expert at from the beginning. So just being curious, asking questions, and just learning, it really helped me and shaped my career. So, with that, let's get into the talk. Let's first start with discussing what is GRC. At its core, it's governance, risk, and compliance. So, governance is what that describes, like defines all the decisions and how they are made. So, if you have to decide like what secure enough means in your organization, so governance would play a major role in that. It is the logic that goes behind all the like security decisions. And then there comes risk is about understanding uncertainty and impact. It would ask questions like, oh, what could go wrong and how bad it would be, and do we have everything to remediate it. It asks those sort of questions. And then there come compliance. So compliance is all about proving that we are doing what we said we would do. So GRC is there to like build trust for the organization. Though like GRC does not create security, but it definitely reflects how security decisions are being made, how security is implemented and operated. So let's talk about GRC's role in cybersecurity. GRC is really at the core of cybersecurity at Adobe. It is not something that happens after security systems are built. GRC influences what security controls get built, how strict those controls are supposed to be. And let me just take an example. So, if I talk about logging and monitoring, then GRC would decide what log must exist, how long they are needed to be retained. Just to take as an example, let's think of a building. Building is your organization, and cybersecurity is all about protecting the building. And then GRC would ensure that, oh, doors are supposed to exist, they are needed to be logged, and you can prove that they can be logged. That is GRC, just to simplify it. So I know like it can sound like a lot is happening. So there are like more majorly four buckets. I can put things together into to simplify. So there's policies, controls, evidence, and audits. Policies basically set the rules. Controls implement them. Evidence proves it, and audit just verifies everything. These policies, they don't come out of nowhere. Like there are external compliance frameworks, there are laws, there are regulations which form policies. So you might have heard of SOC 2, GDPR, HIPAA. These are regulatory requirements, some of them are even laws. And that's how so these industry regulations exist. They describe the intent, and then it's up to an organization who has a GRC team, and then they implement it. One of the key jobs in the GRC space is of an auditor. So what auditors do is that they really like The gist of it is would be that they gather evidences from sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds of engineering team. They verify, they identify what systems are in scope. Then they reach out to systems owners. They explain what evidence are needed in order to keep the control in check. They follow up repeatedly and they track responses. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like this is just the starting point, and this can take hundreds of hours. And then once you have the evidence, auditors have to review those evidences sometimes, and a lot of times manually. I feel this is the most painful and time consuming part. An auditor literally has, they have to slow down, check each and every detail, because this is about trust, right? Like GRC is about trust. So we want to make sure that everything is working as the intent. So if it's a shot, they have to check every detail, like if the system that generated it is right, timestamp is valid, it is within the audit period. Is the person who took the screenshot even authorized to take that screenshot? It is not just reviewing screenshot. I feel like at some point, like it becomes like a forensic analysis of data, and this is where most of the manual efforts also happen. Once you have reviewed the screenshots, they have to then confirm if the control works fine, everything is in check, uh, framework or controls requirements were met. And if there are any gaps, then they have to do the process all over again, follow up with the engineering team again. And this process continues every year, sometimes every quarter, and also at times ad hoc. um, to understand what goes into the life of an auditor, they spend time on with evidences a lot, and there are really so many types of evidences. One of the biggest evidence type is screenshots. Sometimes these pictures are in HD quality, sometimes they are like really bad, and then auditors have to skim through all the screenshots to look for the piece of information. Evidence can be in form of logs, which can sometimes be like in like 6 GB or even more, and somehow they don't even consider the information that auditor needs. And then comes the command line output. Nothing speaks trust me more than a black screen. So yeah, like it's all over the place. Auditors spend a lot of time doing this manually every year. So this we went over that how these evidences are like auditors manually review these evidences, and sometimes it can become a bottleneck, like especially with the scale in which we are growing. We are we have cloud, we had cloud, and then now we have AI. So we, all the engineering teams, all the product teams are growing. So just reviewing compliance evidences as screenshots does not make sense, because it's a lot of it. Conflicts also vary by team, by region, by even by engineer, right? And because evidence is not standardized, it is not possible to like, they have, auditors have to slow down. They have to slow down, they have to zoom in, they have to cross check, they have to validate this over and over again. And this is where GRC becomes heavy, it becomes repetitive, and it becomes slow. So after seeing all these things done manually, one of the main question that comes to mind is that, oh, how can we automate this? Can we not connect our systems to do this? And the answer is yes. The way things are growing now, like the modern compliance world, like it is not possible for it to do things in the old way. We have to automate compliance. Imagine a scenario when like you are literally collecting evidences directly from the systems. It can send Slack reminders. So basically, instead of reviewing 60 screenshots that all look different, but you are looking for the same information, you have a system which pulls data from source. It tells you the gaps, and it can also launch tickets or email or Slack notifications to the product teams. It can auto verify evidences, and also with, if you have a system in place, you can maintain continuous control checks. It does not have to be once in a year, it does not have to be just during the audit season, and you can keep your system in compliance health checks in handy. It's good for your compliance posture, it's good to build trust. So with that, let me just summarize what I discussed till now. So the traditional GRC was very document heavy, it was extremely manual, and it was like doing point in time screenshots, right? But moving towards modern GRC, it's more data driven, it is connected to your systems. This is the mindset shift that we are talking about as the future of GRC, not because compliance is changing, but because the way we look at systems, the way we work in the industry, that is changing. These like current environments cannot be governed with just screenshots and spreadsheets. So that is why like traditional thinking cannot survive the modern scale. Modern GRC will redefine compliance as a measurable, engineered, and automated system, one that can run continuously. It can also provide data, telemetry, dashboards, and allow auditors, human, to focus on judgment, not just labor-intensive tasks. So, if you were doing reviewing 400 screenshots, that can take hours. But imagine that is just shown up on your system, and it also highlights the gaps, right? Something like back and forth conversations can go up to 15 to 20 days or even more, and just like that can be eliminated by automatically reviewing the evidence. So when I'm talking about automation, I'm not talking about we need to have fancy dashboards or replacing people. I'm talking about something which is more fundamental. We want to like we can remove human from the repetitive, deterministic work, so the system can validate themselves. For the purpose of this talk, I will talk about three types of automation. First being rule-based automation. And this is like the foundation. It is deterministic logic. If X is true, then Y passes. If not, it fails. If it fails, then you launch tickets, right? And a good example for it would be is encryption turned on. Yes or no? No, then you launch ticket. Yes, that means your check is passed. So rule-based automation are ideal for continuous control testing, evidence collection, but at the same time, I understand that not everything in a compliance world can be GRC, or in GRC space can be deterministic. I know that even data or like the evidences can be in different format. It can be unstructured screenshots, or like there can be logs or different a big config file. So this is where AI based automation can help. For example, you can read a screenshot and understand what it shows. Uh, AI-based automation can summarize a long configuration file. It can also review your screenshots, right? It does not replace the judgment, but it just like reduces the cognitive load on humans. Now comes the third category, which is having agentic workflow automation. So agentic system, like it means is that this is where like I think things get interesting. A lot of companies are also now exploring this, that agentic systems, they don't execute a single step. They can reason across multiple steps. So for example, uh, if scenario A is working, then it will automatically like think of scenario B or scenario C. Instead of a human orchestrating that workflow, a system is doing that end to end. So just to summarize, rule-based automation, it checks rules, it does the same thing, same way over and over again. It is really fast, consistent, and I think a good start if you're just starting to build out your GRC tool for evidence collection. Then the AI-based automation is like an inspector. It looks through the output, it then notices the patterns, and it can flag anomalies. Then the agentic workflow is that's something which can coordinate across multiple steps. It can pull information from different places and also can decide what needs to happen. So with the automation, we want it's just not about saving time. It's also about bringing efficiency. So instead of asking instead of GRC folks or auditors asking that, oh, if is MFA enabled on this screenshot, going over so many screenshots, they can focus their time on, does this control adds value? Is it actually reducing risk? And what happens if this control fails? So GRC auditors, compliance team, they can focus on better, like meaningful tasks rather than going over screenshots and logs. So once we start thinking this way, GRC stops being a paperwork and it starts looking more like engineering driven. And now we have talked about automation. This is where everything comes together. Shift left compliance. You might have heard of shift left security, which is basically that like we catch issues early, we fall early, not in production, and we can prevent instead of being reactive. So we want to bring a similar approach to shift left compliance, where we can be more proactive than being reactive. We can embed it in the software development life cycles or your CI/CD pipelines. So instead of just doing checklist or just checkbox activity at the end of audit cycle, you can have guardrails in place within the system. The point of this is that let me take an example that you are planning for a trip, and if you pack your luggage night before, you're all set, you're not panicking on the day of your flight. But if you just start packing 10 minutes before leaving, it's gonna be such a hassle. You'll be concerned if you have left anything at home, you'll be worried constantly. And then there comes implementing taking your flight and with leaving your luggage at home, and that just means that you are implementing cybersecurity and not taking GRC into consideration. So I hope this makes sense and adds value. That's what about shift left compliance is. We need to focus more on how we can scale the GRC processes. Some key takeaways I want to discuss with you all is that we in this talk we discussed how traditional GRC can break at modern scale. Then there comes rule-based automation, which can serve as the foundation. And if you have already started automating evidence collection, AI can also help enhance your processes. It can bring intelligence into the picture as well. But one thing to keep in mind is that don't try to automate broken pieces. If the control logic is unclear or inconsistent, automation can maybe cause more problem. It will not make things faster. It can make things messy. And literally anybody can contribute to the compliance world. If you don't need to have a GRC title, you don't need to be an auditor. If you are someone who is already scaling solutions, building automation, you're already helping GRC. And if you are contributing to how GRC is now being engineered, it's about reducing the manual toil, improving the automation. And with that, I would love to open up for Q&A. Let me check if there are any questions. There's one question that says, "What about the use of AI vision to automate screenshot validation of evidence?" So honestly, this I think I covered a little bit of it in my slide. AI can help in understanding the screenshot. It can look up for all the crucial information for the control testing. It can check if the screenshot is valid. It can also check or like analyze all the screenshots and find common patterns or any anomalies. So this will be helpful. That's how we can use AI to automate, and that is just the starting point. It can help. You can use it to review your evidences. Let's go to the next question. There's one question that says, "Hi, I work as a GRC analyst for a SaaS company within the operations team. Being the only non-technical hire amongst dozen of technical hire and having a line manager who is technical, I sometimes feel lost. Can you talk about how to navigate in such environments?" Uh, I can share an example of a colleague from their experience. They've shared something similar to me. So I think just if you're a GRC analyst, you must be doing all these things manually. So you would know where the blocker is, the area where you are stuck, or the area where you have to ask a lot of, like you have to reach out a lot, you have to manage people a lot, and you think that this can be done by a system. I would say work with the technical folks so you can understand about technical systems. But just talking about your pain points can help, and you can contribute to your team, and it will help you in navigating through this situation. One thing that has helped me, if I don't know about anything, I just read and I just talk to people, and feel free to ask questions. This is something that we don't think of. Even I used to feel agitated with asking questions, but somebody told me that if you are thinking, if you have a question, somebody in the room also might have that question. So there are no stupid questions. So you should just ask questions and get clarity into the like technical side of the things of your company. So there's a question that says, is this their internally built systems that is only available internally, or is it a system that Adobe offers in the market? It is our own system. Our We have built our internal governance, risk, and compliance portal to manage not just automation but each pillars of GRC. So yeah, it's internal, but I think it just gives me it's a good suggestion that we should probably maybe we can create a documentation, a guide to get started with GRC automation. Um, so there's a question that says, when you have to use or do screenshots as your evidence, do you present that in an official PowerPoint presentation, email, or combination of both or neither? So the point of my talk is also about how we can automate these evidences. So we have a tool, we have our now processes in place through which we can automate these evidences. The output can be shared as part of it can be shared as an Excel sheet, which can be then shared with auditors. So they are like, but we have done. I'm focusing more on automation piece as well. So if there is any follow up on this, or if you meant to ask, or if I haven't understood your question, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I've mentioned my LinkedIn ID, and I can take it ahead from there. There's one question that says, how does someone trying to break into GRC with no GRC work experience even learn about GRC engineering? This seems sort of advanced. Are there any additional beginner friendly trainings, projects, or recommendation? That's a great question. Even not just GRC, even if you're looking into getting into information security, cybersecurity, I think if you have engineering experience, that would help you in getting into this particular domain. A beginner friendly advice I would give you is that just with GRC engineering, if you have the technical skills, if you know how to code, you can just get started by understanding about these control frameworks like GDPR, SOC 2, etc. And just having an initial knowledge would be good enough. And that will help you in automation and getting into GRC engineering. One of the biggest thing that actually is important in this field is to know about understand the pain points, right? And the major pain point is doing these audits, all these processes manually. So just having that mindset of uh, solving the problem, that is also a good enough start. All right. There's one question that says that um, where should organizations start if their GRC program is very manual today? I would say start small, pick a handful of high impact, repeatable controls. You don't even have to directly get into evidence automation. You can start by just creating a system of just if your organization launches a lot of tickets manually or does a lot of communication via email, and you have data like fragmented. So just start by creating a system that you can automate these communications in some shape or form, whether it is like automating some email reminders or creating a system to automatically launch tickets. That is a good start. And these methods, like it can be reused over and over again, so it is scalable. And then get into evidence automation, automating some high, like very manual task. If you are reviewing a lot of same information over and over again, for example, cloud account encryption information, right? So just automating that process, I think that is a good start. All right, let me go through the questions. How does this approach actually help security engineering team? It definitely helps in reducing a lot of friction, a lot of back and forth. When compliance is automated and embedded into the systems, engineers get a clear direction, clear requirements. Then, like they are aware that, oh, like these are the things that they need to do before go live, right? They can receive earlier feedback and like fewer last minute audit requests. This way, security teams spend less time in producing the evidence or gathering the evidence and more time on improving the controls. Does your role as product manager involves coding? It definitely comes in handy. I started off my job at like my work with Adobe as a software developer, so I do know things. It helps me understand things in and out. But it is not necessary if you want to be a product manager in security or like GRC space. Having that knowledge will come handy, but what is important is that having like ability to solve the problems. For someone wanting to move to other areas within GRC, are there any books you would recommend to reinforce some of these lessons or tips to transition to other GRC roles? To be clear, auditor is not an area of interest for me. I am on the GRC team, but I manage the security awareness program. That's interesting. Whoever mentioned this, I would love to speak with you and chat more. I would definitely need to understand where you're coming from, your background, and then we can talk more about it. Um, if you're interested in GRC roles, I cannot. I can share some book recommendations with you offline. Um, This is an interesting question. Considering the economic landscape of the job market and ongoing layoffs, how lucrative of a career is GRC for non-technical practitioners pivoting into the tech space, specifically GRC? GRC, with how things are progressing, with the AI coming into picture, all these controls and frameworks, like they will continue to grow. So I would say it is definitely it's a growing space. If you're like if you want to continue in the GRC analyst or like non-technical role, even that place is also transforming. You'll be more responsible of working on controls, understanding risk, how to mitigate those risks. So that space is also evolving more from like setting up the vision for an organization space. And then if you also want to transition into tech space, I think just GRC and automation is a really good space to start off with, just by looking into areas of what can be automated, what can be improved, what needs to be on a portal, right? Like just by coming up with these ideas and thought process can help you in transitioning eventually. Is learning to code necessary to stand out in GRC field? I'm seeing a lot of engineers pivoting into GRC roles. As someone from a non-technical background, how can you effectively differentiate yourself and stay competitive? Um, it's a good point. So everybody has their own niche. They have their own skill that make them stand out. So understanding that is very important. I know what I'm sharing is very high level. um, but yeah, like that's how it starts. If Even if you don't know how to code, that's fine, that's completely fine too. I knew how to code and that came handy, but just sharing ideas of what can be done, what can be improved, setting up the vision for the future of GRC, that will that will make you stand out in your current role as well. So like setting up the vision, setting up roadmaps for next year, like those are some starting points, and it can help you in pivoting your GRC role. Oh, this is a good question. The systems of automation you showed, are those based on maturity or should be implemented based on GRC needs? Um, Definitely based on GRC needs. Those three areas I shared, the role based, AI driven, and agentic, like those are based on GRC needs. Though, and if you and I think it can be like you can take maturity into account as well. So I think it's both for sure, but it's important to have the foundation in place, right? So having rules in place so that you can then scale it to the next level. But at the same time, you need to look into need of the hour as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely both. If you're just looking for automating some of the processes, then going with rule based automation is the direction. Again, another good question. Since GRC is fundamentally about trust, what are your thoughts on how will trust and accountability be addressed when we bring automation into the pictures? This is one of the questions or like area of discussion I have with auditors in general. So the automation we are building, it needs to speak trust. um, if your automation is connected to the source, and you can also prove it, it's all about proving, right? That you are connected to source and you can prove that, and you are gathering timestamp all the required checklist that your control might have. So that will serve as the foundation that will help in building the trust. uh, and even like when screenshots are presented to auditors, or even like they are being served as uh, trust, I feel like anybody can also like modify screenshots, right? You can change the time on your laptop and take the screenshot over and use that screenshot over and over again. But if you move those things to an a system which is connected to source, you can identify gaps, you can share remediations, you can then make improvements to the control itself. So yeah, so like I feel like that is how system driven automation or system driven GRC audits would bring accountability and trust into place. At Adobe, also, we keep these things in mind. We always take care, we always account when when an evidence um, was pulled from the systems, who attested to those evidence. If it's for access reviews, then how many user access were removed, all those sort of things which are important for compliance. With these automations, how often would a human in loop be necessary? uh, it is extremely important to have human in the loop, especially if you're using any like AI driven automation. um, so when your automation is providing you with an evaluation or is doing some sort of gap analysis, that's when you have to, at each step you have to review those. So I'm not saying that we want to automate the full job of the auditor, right? But like, just we don't I'm saying that we don't want auditor to review those 600 screenshots. So the system will identify gaps, and then auditor can either analyze the pattern or go through the gaps that were determined by the system. So human in the loop will still be necessary, and just that they would not. We just don't want them to focus on reviewing screenshots, validating, right? Like that can take hours, right? Just to share an example, if I am doing access reviews, taking screenshot of my team's access can take me somewhere between 4 to 6 hours, and that is just one team. Imagine somebody like is reviewing 100 teams data manually. So we want to automate that, right? But human will still be in loop because they will be the one reviewing the work of your tool. Okay. I can take a couple more questions. Let me see. Okay, so this question is about what are the names of some of the tools used in the AI-based agents for implementing GRC in a company? Uh, there are a few tools out there, but this is an area that I'm also currently exploring. So I would love to chat with you about this, or if anybody has some views on this, feel free to post it as a question, and I'll state that as an answer. Okay, I can take one more question. How long does it take to see value from this kind of automation? So, with this form of like automation, or like if you're transforming from modern to automated GRC, you can, if you're just getting started, then you can see value very quickly. Uh, I think often in a single audit cycle. So if your team does quarterly audit cycles or like yearly audit cycle, so in the whatever is the next audit cycle, you can see the impact. Because but you will be not just reducing evidence collection time but all the follow up times. I feel like that goes unnoticed, that amount of time that auditors have to reach out to the product teams and like those gentle reminder emails and Slack or Teams messages. So that also, like, though that takes only few minutes, but they add to your mental load. So you will see value quickly. Some of the key metrics to look for is how much time you are saving, what is the cycle time reduction that is happening, and also it look into how the value that you're bringing. How are you connecting to the source data, and like forming trust with the auditors, with everybody who is using your system as source of evidence. All right. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I would love to chat with you. If I didn't answer any question, or like if you have any follow up question, please feel free to reach out to me. And thank you so much, Visas, for this opportunity, for having all of us together. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.